Welcome into Rock Solid Sports. I'm so sorry for those technical issues. I don't know what I just did. I am so sorry.
There you go. It's all good.
Better at this, but let's just say we have some people here on the line with us. I have Dylan Becker, an alum who graduated last fall, and then we also have Gabriel out on StreamYard.
Yep, happy to be here. Good, Dylan. Good.
It is just great to see all you guys again. I do want to correct you, Allie. I graduated in the spring. Regardless, great to see all of you again. It's been a while. I absolutely miss doing this, so appreciate you inviting me back.
I'm not going to lie to both y'all. I don't know what happened with that. I couldn't hear you, couldn't hear anyone. I heard the previews, heard the testing, but that was a rocky little start, but it's okay. Looks like someone had messed with the keyboard last time they were in here. Buttons. Yeah. All right. Well, I want to start us off strong. And we're going to start off with saying who our sponsors are. We do not have someone out at Cool Beans, but Rock Solid Sports Monday Night Show was sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue, a block off of the Strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HD TVs, darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. with burgers, wings, sandwiches for dine-in or takeout with ball card accepted. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or at coolbeansbar.com. Going off of that, we're going to start with the Citrus Bowl, which just ended today. Tennessee beat Iowa 35-0. And I don't know for anyone who had been listening these past few shows that we've done, but Jaquez called it on the spot. I don't know if y'all remembered. I could be wrong. But it was me, Chloe, Jaquez, and I can't remember the other person that was on air with us, but I think he said 35-0.
So. Crazy prediction.
I think all this just proves is kind of how not great the Big Ten is. Iowa represented the Big Ten West in the matchup for the Big Ten championship. Michigan obviously winning for the East, but that's the issue with the Big Ten as a conference. You can basically guarantee Ohio State or Michigan's going to win the Big Ten championship every year, and whoever wins that is going to make the playoffs. I'm looking at it right now. Michigan's beating Alabama 13-10 going into the second half. And Iowa this year, I want to say it was Purdue last year in the Big Ten championship. Can't remember who it was the year before. They all get stomped, and it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, and I mean, this year, this Iowa team, it's the Iowa team we thought we were going to see. It's the Iowa team that we saw over the course of the year. You know, they had some success with Cade McNamara earlier in the year, and it's like, okay, maybe they actually have a decent quarterback, but as the season progressed and he got injured and they had to go to their backup, and it just, he didn't play well today, and they just don't have an offense. And when there's so much pressure on that defense can get by in the Big Ten and win you a couple games, but you're playing a high-powered Tennessee team who, it's the quarterback with making his first start, but, he's got a running ability. And even just his ability as a runner can carry that offense to where there's so much pressure on that Iowa defense to make a stop every series, every time. And it's just not good enough to get it done in this case. And the Iowa offense, when you're facing for SEC standards, probably a lackluster Tennessee defense, especially with, we talked about it ad nauseum, the amount of people that they lost, transfer portal, opting out, all that. It's a young defense that doesn't have a lot of their guys, and it completely shuts them out. And, if it wasn't for, them handing them a good field position, I mean, Iowa wouldn't have made it into the red zone at all. So it just kind of shows you the difference in competition there.
Yeah, and there's always a massive argument between who's better, Big Ten or SEC. If you put
clearly SEC, but
yeah, of course, and kind of the game going on right now proves who is going to be better because you have the two powerhouses going on. I don't mean to keep deflecting to the Alabama-Michigan game, but it proves that the Big Ten is not the biggest conference; it's the SEC.
I don't know. I don't want to risk it too much yet. I mean, the game's still going on. Alabama, it's 10-13. Michigan pulling out at the moment. But I would like to cover more of the Citrus Bowl. There
We
were so
can't.
many interesting things.
I
that
am
happened.
sorry for going back and forth to it.
Hey, we are.
Well,
Hey,
we're in an interesting situation. We're doing it with the
Yes.
game going on live. I mean, we got so many priorities to
Yeah.
cover there, but
hey, and
talking
we'll
about
get
this.
there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But
I want to
talking
start
about
off with talking about Nico.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
That's where I was
He
going to
was
head.
he's our new quarterback. We're starting off with bringing a true freshman onto the field, starting out in our bowl, and I think that's what we did last year.
Yeah, but Joe wasn't.
But Dro wasn't a true freshman. We
No.
had a new quarterback, but
Well, we also put Joe in just because Hendon was hurt. He probably would have been playing anyways because Hendon would have opted out and tried to get a decent NFL draft spot. But with him blowing out his knee in South Carolina, which I hate talking about it still, bless you.
I
Joe
muted the
would
wrong
have
mic.
started. Joe would have started regardless of whether or not Hendon was healthy or not. And that's what I like about bowl season. It gives you kind of a preview of what next year's going to look like. And with Nico at the helm, I'm kind of feeling pretty confident about what next year is going to be for our offense. I can't say for sure because I hate to say it. We were on the Joe Milton train about this time last year after the Orange Bowl.
He looked terrific against Clemson. He looked
Yeah.
amazing, unstoppable.
And he had a decent performance last year, but the one thing we're gonna have to deal with as Tennessee fans ever since Hendon is whoever's gonna be quarterback is always gonna be compared to Hendon Hooker. And it's I hate to say it, and it sucks for anyone who is gonna be quarterback, but that's the standard for Tennessee. And Nico's living up to it, so I'm
the
excited.
impressive thing about Nico is he got 4 of our touchdowns today. I mean,
Oh,
he had
yeah.
3 rushing touchdowns. He had 1 passing touchdown. He came out the gate strong, like
Yeah.
he had something to prove, and by God, he proved it.
He was running around like Lamar Jackson out there. It was awesome.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
as
and-
somebody who is oh, sorry, not to cut you off.
No,
Somebody who's
you got it.
a legacy kid for UT, my family's big football people. Honestly, everybody might or might not be compared to Hendon, but everybody from my family at least was impressed by, a true freshman that came from, not a huge school. The way that he played in that bowl game, it was intense.
Yeah, and you look at the opponent he's facing. We talk a lot about the Iowa offense, but they do have a pretty good defense, at least statistically wise, and a defense that did a lot of good things over the course of the year. So it wasn't exactly an easy matchup for Nico. And the thing that stuck out to me the most is he's very fluid as a runner with the football. I mean, we saw that with the touchdowns. He scored 3 rushing touchdowns in the game, and it just added another element to that red zone offense that I think we kind of were missing at some spots this year. And the thing so far with Nico is what we've seen so far in game action. We haven't gotten a lot of see him a lot of opportunities of just airing the football out. And so there's still, a bit of me that is wait and see on that aspect of his game. But again, he's so young, we can wait and we can see that type of thing that can develop. It's just nice to know that he at least has his legs to fall back on. And I think, he's a more fluid runner than Joe Milton was. I think he's got a better sense of when to run and when to go down and when to fight for extra yards that for just whatever reason it didn't seem that Joe Milton always had. So I think that's like the biggest takeaway you can have with Nico just from this game is that he is going to be a threat with his legs. And I think he ended up with something on it. It said 15 carries, something like that. And it didn't end up being a lot of yards average wise, but it tells you what this coaching staff is thinking about doing with him and doing with that quarterback run game that can be really impressive, I think.
You got anything else to add on that, Dylan?
No, Gabriel basically covered it all. And if all else fails, if you can't throw the ball, run it yourself. And it clearly worked out today.
Sorry. No. Now we're talking about Nico. I want to move on to talk about Samson and Selden because when I tell you they did deliver during this game, they were impressive just as much. Well, not just as much, obviously, but they definitely pulled their part.
Yeah, it was a big question, or not big question, but Jabari Small and Jalen Wright obviously not going to be here next
Mm.
year, and so it's going to be on these young running backs to kind of take that step up. And it was the position group where we had the most clear picture of what it's probably going to look like next year with these two, and probably get someone else in there. And obviously the big one being Dylan Sampson, who's a guy who unlike Nico, got experience as this season progressed and was able to come in and already showed some of his explosive ability. And he showed that here again today with 133 rushing yards. And, the thing about it with this Tennessee run game is it seems to be that, the holes get opened. So you just have to have the explosiveness to hit those holes. And I think it's clear that Dylan Sampson has that. And he had an ability to hit those holes. We saw it. I think started the second half in this one. He busted 2 long ones that really helped get the Tennessee offense moving. And then Cam Seldon, a guy that showed up in the orange and white game. True freshman, redshirted this year. Got some action in the bowl game, and he looks pretty good. I'm pretty sure he's a converted wide receiver, converted over to running back. And it looks like he brings more of he's a little bigger and brings maybe more of a power aspect. We saw him get some work on the goal line. And I think they showed about as much as you could want from those two guys in a room that, as the season progressed, Tennessee really became more of a run-first football team. So it's going to be important to find guys that can take some pressure off Nico going forward next year. And I think you've already got 2 guys in the building that can do that. But yeah, I think nothing more. I mean, I think Sampson's going to have a really good year next year. I'll be honest. I think he brings the explosiveness. I think he's pretty fluid with catching the ball. So it's just going to be, can he put it all together and progress from being like more of a third down back to an every down back?
Yeah, I remember watching Sampson in the orange and white game, and I'm pretty sure Heupel put him in during the UConn game back in November, and noticing just how explosive he could be if there was an opening in the line for him to just go. And the kind of difficult thing is if you can't pass it and you can't run it yourself, just hand it off. And if you give the ball to the right guy that can punch through the other team's line, then you're basically unstoppable because the linemen just have to catch them. And as long as your guy's fast, everything works out.
Once again, spot on. I don't really know how to follow. You guys know I can never follow y'all up ever, but I can start a new thing. All right. So what were your thoughts on our defense as a whole today, though? Because I was thoroughly impressed. Heupel himself said at the end of the game, like they really did perform better than we've seen them perform this entire year. They started us out in 2024 with a shutout. They did what they were supposed to do.
I don't really think this was a proper test of our defense. I was watching the game in Annapolis with one of my dad's friends who's a massive Iowa fan, and he kept saying that Iowa is one of the worst offenses in the entire league. So when you put our defense that we're experimenting with against one of the worst offenses in college football, that's not really a test. That's more just kind of playing around, seeing what happens. Something could work out that could be interesting, but it's not an actual way of seeing how solid our defense is under pressure.
Yeah, it's good.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely got to take it with a grain of salt with Iowa because they can't really move the ball consistently, especially through the air. But what I will say is it's a good sign just with all the young pieces that we saw out there for that Tennessee defense, especially in the secondary. Gabe Judy-Lawley had a good game in coverage and having to come up and tackle people. And, we're going to get Haddon back next year. So that's going to be kind of probably round up 2 of your top corners. And then you got to talk about the game that James Pierce had. Not really a shocker because he's been doing things all season, and a guy that's going to be coming back next year. That Virginia game, first game of the year, 3 sacks on that Virginia offensive line, and he consistently put up numbers as the season progressed. And then this game, big sack, got a strip fumble, and then got a pick 6 actually, dropping back into coverage at one point in this one, which I did not see that one coming. I thought, I'm like, oh, look, a corner got a pick 6. Cool. And then I'm like, wait, that was James Pierce Jr.? That's wild. But it kind of shows you the athlete he is. I mean, he is one of the fastest guys out there on the field coming from the edge rusher spot. And he has a great ability of getting to the passer. And I think that, that's just kind of the big thing that you feel good about going into next year is the growth of James Pierce and what he can do next year. You lost Tyler Barron to the transfer portal. You're going to need somebody to bring that constant pressure. And he showed it this year, and he showed it in this game that he can be that guy.
All right. As for notes for Iowa's offense, my sweet little roommate over here is she's going to disagree with y'all apparently.
It's not that I necessarily, completely disagree. It's just the fact that our defense hasn't always been the strongest. I think that they showed us today that they can be a good bit stronger, especially Amari. The way that he played on the field today was decently impressive. And while Iowa doesn't have the strongest offense, I think that it does show, some great potential for this upcoming season.
Understandable.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to shutout. I mean, at some point you gotta give them credit for that. I mean, and like I said before, it is encouraging that it's the young guys going out there and making plays.
Seeing all the young guys come out and play with such a strong want and an energy to prove something makes me so excited for my senior year. My senior year is this coming fall. I'm graduating early, and I am very excited to see how Nico goes. I want to see more of Samson and Selden and Pierce Jr. Today's game made me realize this is going to be a great season. Maybe it won't be we can never tell based on how the other teams are going to be or how we're going to play when it gets down to it. But I know that the fans are going to be behind it. We're going to be excited, and we're ready to see where this freshness takes us. So
yeah, I don't think I think it's just this team's bottom. It's a lot different than this program's bottom at this point. The worst that it can be is a lot different from where it was with Pruitt and Butch Jones, I think.
Yeah,
and that's you gotta commend Heupel for building it that way. Because even looking at this season that we consider probably slightly disappointing, when you're still playing in the Citrus Bowl at the end of the year, and that's a really great thing considering where this team was 3-4 years ago. So you got to commend him for that, and I think they're in a decent spot for success. You got a good young next year. You got a good young quarterback. You got some weapons returning. You're going to have a strong run game. I can almost guarantee that. And you got a couple people who can play on the defense. So I mean, yeah, I don't think there's any way where next year can go much worse than this year, and that's a good spot to be in as a fan.
I mean, this year, including the bowl game, the Vols were 9-4, and I can't even remember what our record was my freshman and sophomore year under Pruitt. It wasn't great, so it's probably for the best. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But if that's the lowest our program can get, and if this, not as good as last year, but I'd take this year over my first 2 years at school any day, just because of how good we are again. Tennessee is relevant. We're finishing out, I believe it was 21st ranked, which that's perfect. And there's obviously room for improvement, but this is fine.
all right, I'll say we have someone really fun about to hop on with us real quick. We're going to get them in on the StreamYard link. We have one of our previous directors, Dylan. They just called, kind of confused me a little bit with the phone.
No, it's all good. I know about this.
I didn't know. So while we're waiting on that, why don't we just go ahead and talk about some really good, some of our favorite moments from this season? Give us some moments before we have Sweet Dylan on here.
All right. I guess I'll start. I only made it to one game this year, being UConn. That was my favorite. I think the highlight was the revenge game against South Carolina. That was the first game I was actually depressed I couldn't see because Neyland, Loud, an SEC game. Everyone's still mad about what went down against South Carolina last year. We wanted competition, and Tennessee showed up and performed exactly the way we wanted. And it's sort of a relief compared to what happened last year against South Carolina.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to go with the D. Williams punt return against Texas A&M to win that game, just because looking in terms of competition, yeah, Texas A&M wasn't great this year, but it was one of the, I guess, better wins that Tennessee had. And it was a competitive game, and it was a really fun moment at, kind of salted the game away for Tennessee. And so that was really nice. And I had all my friends come down to Knoxville for it, so it was fun to get a win out of that.
Oh, yeah, when you got your friends around and you're watching football, nothing better than that. I miss my days of tailgating, hanging out with everyone. It does come to an end. It's sad, but it just leaves you with the good memories.
Personally, my favorite moment this season would have to be, the Vanderbilt game, just because I didn't get a senior game last year. So being able to go and get, a last game, a senior game, that was really special to me. It has nothing really to do with how we played, but that would be my favorite moment since I was given about 30 seconds to figure one out. Thank you, Allie.
I'm so sorry. I'm doing my best. Anyways, sorry for this, everything going on. Personally, I don't know. I really, really loved going to Nashville for that first game. That's probably my favorite moment. I got to go. I got to experience it. The sweltering heat, that killed me. I'm not going to lie. But that game as a whole, I know it may not have been the best we've ever done, but it was a really enjoyable and a favorite moment for me. So. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to send us into our first break. My name is Allie. You are listening to Rock Solid Sports here on 90.3 The Rock. Come back for us in a few.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football, and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. allvols.com. Student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, go Lady Vols.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears!
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. The Vols basketball team's next home game versus Norfolk State, Tuesday, January 2nd at Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center is at 7 p.m. General public ticket information for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket information and login is at bigorangetiX.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, go basketball Vols.
The Rock received support from Fieldhouse Social, sports games paired with cold beers in reach in University Commons. Fieldhouse Social offers a diverse menu of tavern foods such as pulled pork nachos, the Fieldhouse Cobb salad, and the Applewood smoked chicken wings. Kick back and relax in the lounge. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Tune in every weekday morning at 7 for the Marble City Radio Company. I got your fix of music and nonsense to start your day right. I got some stuff that slaps and some stuff that's crap. So if you're looking to wake up quickly and not at all quietly, join me, Clay, every weekday morning at 7 on the Marble City Radio Company, right here on Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock. Did you know that it's UT's College of Rock? Because that's what I've been told.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allballs.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center. Spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chillwave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 9th season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. Allballs.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, go Vols basketball.
Welcome back to Monday night's edition of Rock Solid Sports. I'm your host, Allie. Once again, we have Jordan from last Friday. We have Gabriel, and we have Rock Solid Sports alum, Dylan Becker. That's a better intro than I gave y'all last time, less frazzled. And once again, Rock Solid Sports Monday Night Show is sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue and a block off the strip. For more information, check out their Instagram, Knox Cool Beans, or at coolbeansbar.com. All right, y'all. I'm excited to talk about this. Let's talk about some NFL. All right, so I do want to start with the Titans' devastating loss to the Texans. I have a bunch of people giggling in my ear. All right, but no, the Titans lost 26-3 to the Texans. I love whoever's note was under this saying we suck.
Yeah, that was me.
All right.
Well, you gotta understand. Usually, it's me.
Suck.
Yeah, no, they're terrible. It's usually me and Tucker on the Monday show during the season. So just throughout the entire season, we'd get on the Monday show and we'd just talk about how bad the Titans were, pretty much. And yeah, I mean, it was more of the same for the Titans. I mean,
you can tell it's completely fair. They only got 3 points, and that was in the second quarter. The Texans started off strong with 3. Second quarter, they got 17 points. And then from there on out, they were consecutive each quarter getting 3 more points. So, take it away.
It was just Will Levis was back for the Titans, started. He got injured about, I think it was the second quarter. He only got a couple drives. So Ryan Tannehill went back in there, and I mean, didn't play that much worse, honestly. It's just that offensive line for Tennessee is disastrously bad. And it's just almost impossible to have stable offensive play when you have such a bad offensive line. The left tackle position has been a turnstile all year. It started off, we had Andre Dillard in there for this game, and then Jalen Duncan came in, and both of them aren't good. Our right guard, Daniel Brunskill, got banged up during the game, and so it's just – none of the pieces are that good to begin with, and then the pieces that aren't good in the first place are getting injured, so then backups are coming in. So,
all right, I will pause one moment. We have Jason, who is one of our previous directors, adding into this conversation, so I'm going to pop him in real quick. But you keep talking, Gabriel.
Okay.
Glad he's on stage.
Yeah, and it was just a terrible performance from them, and that's kind of just what it's been on the year. Looking forward to next year, you've got Will Levis, and hopefully he shows more. He can be the guy next year, and he's shown some stuff this year that makes you believe that he could be that guy, but it's kind of up in the air. The biggest thing for them is just you got to figure out the offensive line. And no matter what, that's what you have to do is figure out the offensive line. And when you're looking at the Texans, I mean, CJ Stroud's a good quarterback. They've got some good receivers. Nico Collins is a good receiver. Their offensive line is much better. They're just a better football team. And the rest of the AFC South was just better than the Titans this year. I mean, hands down. And that's what it came down to.
Dylan, you got anything to say to that?
Not particularly for the Titans. I know Will Levis has been getting hurt a lot, which certainly doesn't help. Got to try not to do that. I know that sounds simple and kind of stupid, but if an organization puts a bunch of faith into a future quarterback and they keep getting hurt, then it's almost a waste of a draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes back to the O-line. It's part of his play style. He's slightly reckless, but also you look at the O-line, he's dropping back. It's about 2 seconds, and he's getting pressured, and he's getting put in the ground, and it's tough to stay healthy that way.
I think we have Jason trying to talk, but we cannot hear you at the moment. So.
Oh, I was waiting for you guys to cue me. I'm talking to the other guys in my car.
We have a bunch of other sports directors in the car.
Yeah, I was telling them that you didn't want me to hop in on this Will Levis conversation because you're not going to like what I have to say about him. Yeah. Will Levis is the prototypical quarterback if you look at only what he looks like and how he can throw the football. He doesn't know how to read a defense. He plays way too aggressively, and I think a part of that was because he had subpar weapons at Kentucky, and his defenses were never great, and he's always had to play this hero ball. But the problem that Will Levis has is he cannot turn hero ball off, and he was bailed out consistently at Kentucky, especially by his name is slipping me right now, but their running back that just went pro this past season, Chris Rodriguez. He was bailed out consistently by Chris Rodriguez at Kentucky, and now that he is playing for the Tennessee Titans, and Derrick Henry is reaching the age where you should probably think of moving him on and just going full on into this rebuild. Without a dominant run game that can ground and pound and churn out first downs every, with some consistency, you're not going to be able to have a consistent offense, because I just don't think Will Levis knows how to play the quarterback position well enough to be the focal point of an NFL offense. And that's what the Titans are asking him to be right now, assuming that Derrick Henry gets moved this offseason, which I don't think is an inevitability, but I think it's very, very likely. The fact that he's still on the team now even surprises me, that he wasn't moved at the Week 6 trade deadline in the NFL.
Well, I agree with you to a certain extent about Will Levis and the hero ball stuff. I think that it definitely does too much of it, but I think he's almost put in a very similar spot that he was put in Kentucky, where you're asking him to do a lot because, as good as Derrick Henry has been, and he's had his moments this year too, I don't think he's completely over the hill yet. He's slowed down a little bit, and a lot of it's because the run lanes aren't there. So you're getting stuck in these third and long situations for Will Levis, and you're asking him to go out there and make a play. And, the receiving core is okay with DeAndre Hopkins, but there's not a lot of explosiveness in there. So I agree. He's got to take it down a step. He's got to play more in rhythm and play more in tempo. And I think he actually can do that. I think, at the very least, you're going to have to give them the chance to do it next year, because I don't think they're going to be in a spot to where they can go get one of the top quarterbacks this year. They're going to be around the 5th to 7th pick range. So it depends on how much you like Jaden Daniels or someone like that, third best quarterback. I don't think they're going to get one of the top 2 guys. So I think next year, that's the big thing with him, is seeing him be able to, can you run an offense where you're not asking him to do everything or make all these big plays? And can he run an offense where you're taking the easy throws and you're getting the easy throws? But that's what's turned into for the Titans, which I think is at least you have a path with the quarterback position, where at the beginning of the year it felt like you didn't have any sort of path at the quarterback position.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think you do have to give him the shot because he started enough games this season. He's got a few games under his belt. You have to give him the opportunity, but my concern with Will Levis is that he has never showed the capability to play a low-level, even-keeled game where he just manages the game and doesn't, have a silly turnover, doesn't try to force something, and he needs to learn how to pick and choose his moments to turn that on, because eventually you're going to have to make a play. And if you throw an interception doing that, that's fine, but you have to pick and choose those moments. And he's not shown me anything to this point that tells me that that's going to change, especially with the assumption that Derrick Henry will not be on the team next year. But even at the NFL level, a quarterback has to be able to manage an offense and get first downs with the people that are with the weapons that he has at his disposal. And if it means, throwing quick check downs, going through your progressions quickly and doing that, or throwing screens or whatever, you can make that happen even with subpar talent if you can manage the game effectively. And I'm just not sure that Will Levis has that in him because I've never seen it. Can he do it? Of course, maybe. Like, I won't go on here and say that it's not possible, but I just haven't seen it. And for me, that's the concern that I have with Will Levis, and that's the concern that I've always had with Will Levis. When I was in the discussion on ESPN Radio in Louisville, which covers the University of Kentucky, he was being touted as this number one overall pick potentially. And I said, okay, well, if he's so great, if he's so pro-ready, why is he not going in this weak class that has Kenny Pickett as quarterback one? Why is he waiting for the loaded class that has C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young at the top, along with, we'll have some other guys that ended up being Anthony Richardson, primarily, that filled the rest of that first round out. And I think the reason that he fell is because he is a project player. He can make the throws that you want him to make, but can he make the reads that you want him to make and make the decisions you want him to make? That's something that he has to be coached into. And I'm not sure that Mike Vrabel is the coach to do that either, being that he is a defensive guy. But if the Titans had a guy like a Jim Harbaugh or, one of these quarterback gurus, I think he absolutely could. But I think it's going to take the right coaching. And in the system and the situation that he is in with Tennessee, I'm just not sure that that's a likely outcome.
All right. Well, I think we're just about to keep going in circles and circles, circling around. Illiterate. Circling around this. But I do want to, we don't have too much time left, so I do want to move on and talk about the other games that have been going on in the NFL. But you have an amazing point, Jason. So anyways, I want to talk about the Ravens and the Dolphins.
I agree.
All right. 56-19. The Dolphins came out with 10 in the first quarter. Baltimore Ravens had 7, but then they kicked right back up, saying 21 in the second, only to 3 for the Dolphins. Continuing on, no points in the third for the Dolphins, 7 for the Ravens, and then 6 for the fourth for the Dolphins, and then 21 again for the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's actually pretty impressive. I will let Dylan start off with this one.
So last year, one of our biggest themes on the show was, what's Lamar Jackson going to do? Is Baltimore going to pay him? Is he going to go somewhere else? Am I going to be sad about what happens? And Baltimore ended up paying him, and this is what happens when you give the man the money he deserves. Lamar has been absolutely phenomenal all year. Ravens football is fun to watch again, and I think whoever put it in the notes, I agree. We're looking at another possible MVP run for him. Jason, I know you watched Lamar Jackson in college and had a lot of fun with that. And it's when you acknowledge the talent of a player like him and give him what's due, he will show up for you and take you to the heights that your team should be at. and the Ravens are in prime position for a possible Super Bowl run, knock on wood. The only thing stopping that is Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns, which would be an exciting but terrifying matchup for any Ravens fan. But I'm feeling good about the Ravens going into the offseason. I'm reading right now that his status against Pittsburgh next week is up in the air because we already have the number 1 seed secured. What's the point in kind of starting our best players when possibly risking getting them hurt? Who's to say? I'm just excited that Ravens football is fun.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing you'd say about the Ravens and just these last couple of weeks, I mean, just look at who they're playing. It's the 49ers, it's the Dolphins, 2 of the best teams, and they're blowing them out. I mean, they're blowing both these teams out. And so, by far the team to beat in the NFL now, there's not really like a case against it. It's been kind of an up and down year for a lot of teams in the NFL. So I don't think there's, one team that like has showed they're a super always dominant team. But I mean, the Ravens have been the closest thing to it. And if they keep playing like this, I mean, no one's going to beat them. And it's interesting in the offseason with, Lamar and, they kind of reworked the receiver room where they actually got him some weapons to play with. And they bring in Todd Monken, and it's going to be like, okay, they're transitioning from this offense where it was really predicated on him running the football when it came down to it. That is like your big thing. And he showed it in there where he can be more of the guy that can take on that passing role. And the big questions heading into this year, it's like, okay, we know they're going to pass it more. Is he going to be able to do it? Are they going to be able to find that right balance? And I think they've found the perfect balance of when to, use his ability as a runner but just relying on his ability as a passer first and foremost to get it into the hands of the weapons and, fight through adversity because it hasn't, they've had their share of injuries too. Mark Andrews goes down. Well, this is a team that's so good at drafting. They've got a guy like Isaiah Likely sitting there at tight end, and he fits right in, and he produces as a tight end. And I think 5 touchdowns for Lamar. It's tough with MVP. You never know which way people are going, but especially you're beating the Dolphins who have Tyreek, who's another MVP candidate. You beat the 49ers who had McCaffrey, who's an MVP candidate. I mean, pretty much locked up the MVP candidacy for Lamar, I think. I think when you look at the season as a whole, it's going to be hard to argue that anyone else was a more valuable player for their team. And it's also a narrative award, when it comes down to it. I think he's got the narrative behind it to transitioning to a more passing offense and passing that test with flying colors.
And the one thing I want to emphasize is I can't remember what week it was. Mark Andrews went down. And he is one of Baltimore's key players. Even without Andrews, Baltimore's been doing fantastic. And again, everything's just working out for them. And it's going to be a phenomenal run, regardless of what happens. A lot of people are going to be looking at the Ravens in the future. I've already gotten several texts from non-Ravens fans saying they're the pick to win it all. So come playoffs time, we'll see what happens.
And that's just talking about the offense. Their defense is dangerous too.
Yeah. And historically, the Ravens are not one of the best. We are the best defense back in the times of Gooseman and Ray Lewis and all them. And their names are hanging up at M&T Bank Stadium for a reason. I guarantee you, if Lamar finally gets us a Super Bowl, in a couple years, whenever he decides to retire, his name is going up on the wall basically immediately.
All right. We all know me. I don't have too much to add on all these conversations about NFL because I'm not too informed, but I'm very proud of how y'all always cover this so well. I do have one game that caught my eye yesterday, and that is the Cardinals versus the Eagles. The Eagles were upset by the Cardinals, 35-31. So, pretty much, I mean, the Cardinals had a pretty good third quarter with 15-0 against the Eagles. So, I mean,
yeah, it was just the Eagles have been kind of they haven't been as efficient as they were last year. In these past couple of weeks, it felt like they were kind of getting they've dropped games in the past weeks, but they've been against good teams. And then this one, I mean, the Cardinals, they've got Kyler who's playing well, but I mean, they were a 2-win team before this, so they're not a good football team. And it's just a team that, with the NFC East on the line, you expect the Eagles to be able to get that game, win that game. And I think there's real concern in Philadelphia about this team making it to the level that last year's team did. And I think they're clearly not the best team in the NFC this year. They might not even be the best team in the NFC East this year.
No. And everyone has their good years. The good years eventually have to come to an end.
Yeah. And I think
right.
a lot of that has to do with losing Shane Steichen to the Colts and just losing some of their offensive flow. Sorry, that's my last thing.
You are all good. I just didn't want us to run out of time before the whole reason we got Dylan Becker on this show today is to talk hockey. So we're going to go on our last and final break, and then we will be right back. I'm Allie. You're listening to 90.3 The Rock Solid Sports.
1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the campus headquarters for food, brews, pool, shot starts, sports, and more fun. Tuesday night is team trivia night, and Thursday nights are for bingo. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page for more info.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 9th season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. AllVols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, go Vols basketball.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the Knoxville Ice Bears professional hockey team. The Ice Bears' next game on home ice is Friday, January 12th versus Evansville, and this Saturday, January 13th, face-off is 7:35 p.m. at the Knoxville Civic Coliseum downtown. Ice Bears tickets are at knoxvilleicebears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Tune in to WTK's Rock Solid Sports for Ice Bears news. Volunteer Radio says go Ice Bears.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. AllVols.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Hi, this is John Dwyer from OCs, and you're listening to WUTK Knoxville.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. AllVols.com. Student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, go Lady Vols.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at knoxvilleicebears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears!
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center, spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chillwave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
Welcome back to Monday night's edition of Rock Solid Sports. Okay, Dylan, I see you. We're waiting for Gabriel.
I am ready.
He is having a little bit of technical issues, but as soon as we
It's all
have those
good.
resolved, he will be right back in. But one last little mention of our Monday night show sponsors, which is Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue. They have 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HGTVs, darts, pool, and card games. More on their Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or at coolbeansbar.com. We are going to be starting off this segment about the NHL. Dylan's very excited, and I'm going to go ahead and send him off to talk about Seattle defeats Vegas 3-0 in the 2024 Winter Classic.
All right, so yeah, it being New Year's Day, the NHL decided to go outside where the Mariners play, have a little hockey game, and they decided to pit the two expansion teams against each other and see what happens. Seattle came out on top 3-0, shutout from goalie Joey Decord. First time it's ever happened in the Winter Classic. Goals from, I'm probably going to butcher these names because Eastern Europe is a whack place, Eli Tolvanen, Will Borgen, and Yanni Gord. The Winter Classic is just an absolute blast to watch, regardless of if your team's in it or not. It's just a fantastic way to start off the new year. I'm going to take the glasses off because it's messing with my vision. New Year's Day, hockey, it's cold outside. I think it snowed in Seattle the night before. It's the way the game was meant to play. I played in one outdoor game in my 16 years of playing. Absolute blast. And it's just a celebration of the sport in general. Perfect way to kick off the year. And going into the game, though, this is rather surprising. Vegas has been an absolute powerhouse over the past few years since their debut. Make it to the finals their debut year. Unfortunately, actually not unfortunately, what am I saying? My Capitals beat them for the Stanley Cup, first time ever. Very exciting for me. And then last season, they won the Stanley Cup. Exciting for them because their owner said they were going to get a cup within 6 years. And he pulled through with that promise. Now, Seattle, I don't really know what to say about them. They kind of struggled their first year. The NHL and Gary Bettman decided to give them this opportunity. I think it was kind of cool. And I'm excited for the other outdoor games coming this year. I can't remember which ones we have on the schedule, to be honest. Outdoor hockey is just a lot of fun.
I mean, I was going to let you keep going, Dylan, but
No. Oh, I thought we were going to throw a little transition there.
I mean, yeah, go ahead. Gabriel, do you have anything you would like to say? Gabriel. Gabriel is once again having problems. Anyways, I guess we'll just talk about the PWHL, the first women's professional hockey league launched today.
Do you want to mention really quick your Predator, or probably most of your Predators beat my Capitals 3-2 in shootout on December 30th. Very sad, but PWHL, very awesome. They don't have team names yet. It's just cities, but New York beat Toronto 4-0, and a really controversial take. People are baffled when I say this. Women's hockey is a lot more fun to watch than men's because of how fast-paced it is. I played an Olympic prospect team. I want to say I was 16 or 17, and it's one of the most physically demanding games I ever played. They were just so fast. It was very precise, a lot of passing. but Allie, I think I sent you this video on Instagram. They got really physical in the first period to the point it looked like it hurts. And being hit in open ice is one of the most uncomfortable feelings ever. They were doing that to each other. So when you combine the aggression with the speed, it just makes really fun hockey. And when it comes Winter Olympic season, I pay attention more to the women's team than the men, just because the American women are better at winning gold medals than the men, and it doesn't make me sad. But now that the women have a professional outlet to play, it gives them even more time to prepare for when the Olympics come around, and they get a more sense of pride on playing with their friends, playing with people they've grown up playing with. I'm saying playing too many times. And it's just another way to watch hockey, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's just a fun sport.
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know too much about this, but as of what I'm reading right now, the New York beat Toronto 4-0. Ella
Leave it to
Shelton
Toronto
scored
to disappoint people.
What?
Leave it to Toronto to disappoint people like always.
I mean, fair enough, but it was the Ella Shelton was the first person to score the opening goal. Corinne Schroeder earned the first shutout, which is
I
love it.
You got two massive milestones in the league only existing for, and it's been talked about for years. They announced it a couple months ago, but you got two big important things happening in the same game. What's not to love?
Hey, I mean, whenever you first started coming off saying like controversial opinion, I had no idea what you were about to say, and I'm very, very pleased with the way that you went with that sentence.
Oh, it wasn't going to be anything horrible. I'm not like that.
I know, Dylan. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to delve into?
Yes, kind of depressing. You might remember in my time on RSS, I'd have an Ovechkin goal tracker. It hasn't updated much, and it's disappointing. He has 829 career goals with only 7 this season. He's getting old. I'm losing faith in him passing Wayne Gretzky with 894 goals, but it's just kind of a part of life. When you I think he's like 35 now, and you lose your backup, and Nicholas Backstrom, TJ Oshie's hurt. John Carlson's getting up there in age too. You're going to slow down if you lack the support, but it's a part of life. It's been fun watching him play in his prime.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dylan. Thank you so much, Gabriel. I'm so sorry that we were having such a struggle with technical difficulties throughout this entire show, but thank you so much to our viewers tuning in on 90.3, TuneIn, Twitter, Facebook, or even YouTube. My name is Allie, and I'm going to close us out here for our first 2024 Rock Solid Sports Monday Night Show of the year. Thank you all, and please tune in next Wednesday, actually.
Big Orange.